Okay, we are here today with Cristen. She's a language partner I've recently met on an language exchange platform, and she's from the U.S. and she learned Spanish. She has a very awesome level in Spanish, and she has a very interesting story to tell us. So, how are you doing today, Kristen?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And yeah, I wanna talk with you a lot of things, and I want to hear from you your stories. Um, so we can start at the beginning. What's your origin? So, where were you born, and where do you live now?
I was born in Fremont, California, and I'm still here in Fremont, California.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
You've lived all your life there, yes?
Uh-huh.
Oh, and can you describe how is your town in terms of people,
Oh,
communities?
it is like it's kind of a medium-sized city, I guess. It's more suburban, so it's a lot of houses and not so many like big buildings or businesses. And it has kind of it's a very diverse area.
Oh, yeah,
And the part I live in, like the county, I suppose, like the very small area I live in, is majority Asian, which is
Asian. Okay.
interesting. Yeah, so that was my kind of background growing up. Was my high school was something like 90% Asian and white was
Oh,
like 10%, a little less.
wow, 90%. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah. Yes. And well, uh, what were the languages that you usually listen to in your area? So
I think it's mostly Chinese here. It's mostly Chinese here.
Chinese.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of Indian dialects as well. I cannot identify specific ones, but different. Punjabi, Hindi, that's all I got.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, yeah. So it's very diverse, very
Mhm.
Asian, yeah.
Mhm.
And and when you studied at school, elementary school, did you
Mhm.
take some language classes, lessons?
No, no, they didn't have any kind of language support in elementary school. Elementary school, it started in junior high, is when they had
You,
it available for people.
oh, okay, okay. So
Mhm.
how did you start with the languages? Did you start with Spanish? Did you choose another
Yeah.
language?
I started with Spanish in eighth grade, so I was 13, 14,
Okay.
and it was a requirement, more or less. It was a requirement for high school to have 2 years of a language, but you had the opportunity to start earlier. So I started earlier in eighth grade.
Okay. And at that time, there was a special reason for you to choose Spanish or not?
I think I chose Spanish because my friend wanted to do Spanish.
Oh.
Yes, she wanted to take Spanish, and her family's half Ecuadorian, so she wanted
Okay.
to do Spanish, and I was like, that sounds like a great idea. Okay, I'll follow you in that. And that's how it started.
Yeah, yeah. It's for a friend, yeah. So
Yeah.
you had this contact with an Spanish speaking family, no? Back then.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And around those ages, did you have another contact with more like Spanish speaking community when you were in school?
At that time, I did not. Not really. The only contact I would have had was like Mexican restaurants, which are all over the place, and I love Mexican food. But
Oh, okay.
that would probably be the only contact because even her family, it was like the older people in her family would speak Spanish with each other, but they're always more kind of separate. So my friend doesn't speak Spanish at
Ah, okay,
all.
okay.
So she was more like separated from it. And so that was around that a little bit, but it wasn't so impactful, It wasn't that apparent.
Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. So then, after high school, what happened for you? with Spanish. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, what did you do?
yeah. So I started Spanish in eighth grade, and then all through high school, I continued with it because I had space in my schedule, and it was fun. It was nice.
Yeah.
And and then when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was very confused. And the first 2 years of college are kind of like the deciding time. So
Yes.
you can take the general education courses, and until your third year where you have to decide what major you want to do. So I was taking a lot of general ed and all the stuff I had to take along with Spanish. So I was taking Spanish classes because I had space and I was like, this is fun. And then I got to my second year and I had to decide what major to do. And I looked at my courses and I had almost completed the Spanish major by
Oh.
accident. So I was like, I guess I'll just do Spanish because I'm almost done anyway. Because
So it
I
was,
really didn't know what to do. Yeah, I really didn't know what to do
yeah.
with
So it
the
seems that
career.
it was very natural for you, the Spanish. Spanish comes to
Yeah,
you in a very natural way. Yeah.
yeah,
You did.
it was so easy to take the classes. They're fun.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. The reason was that is that you got fan there because the people, the classes. There was another reason for that.
To continue with the classes.
Yeah, for Spanish.
Um, I don't know. I liked it. I liked
Yeah.
it, and they were all available to take.
Yeah.
And I needed to take something. It wasn't like, this is my passion. This is amazing. I was just like, okay, I'll just, after Spanish 1 comes Spanish 2. So I'll just do Spanish 2. And after Spanish 2 comes Spanish 3. So I'll just do Spanish
Yeah.
3.
It was like yeah, it was like you got into in a flow with the Spanish, in a very
Yeah,
natural flow with the Spanish.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just continued on.
Yeah. And so you studied Spanish as a major, and how was the career? Yeah. Who were your teachers? Where they were from, and your classmates?
All of my classmates were pretty much Mexican. And it was kind of interesting because the classes were in the beginning, it was kind of more of a mix because at the lower levels, I think there was a language requirement for college, but I don't really know because I did Spanish as a major, so it got canceled out. But I think at the beginning, it was more like anyone could take it or everyone was taking it. And then once you got higher on, like higher up in the classes, it was all Mexicans, all Mexicans. And that was kind of an interesting dynamic. That was interesting for a few reasons. But it was interesting because they all had like a cultural similarity, like a cultural bond, and then there was
Yeah.
me, like out on the outside.
Oh, you were the clearly
I
the
was
outsider.
kind of the outsider. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't so defined, but definitely sometimes it was like weird. I was on the other side and they were all together. I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah, but these Mexican people, they were studying Spanish as a major
Yeah.
because they were learning Spanish or they knew Spanish and they wanted a specialization.
They a lot of them in the class were Mexican from Mexican families, but it was more like second generation. So they spoke
Oh,
Spanish, but it was only like colloquial whatever they
yeah.
speak with their family. So their academic Spanish was not very strong, which is interesting also because my academic Spanish was very strong because I don't know any colloquial Spanish because my family speaks English. So it was like a kind of a weird dynamic that their academic was not so great and mine was better, but their colloquial was really great and mine was really bad. So, but they were there to like improve their academic Spanish, and then most of them wanted to be Spanish teachers in high school,
Ah, okay.
and so they were kind of reflecting on how they learned Spanish in high school and they wanted to kind of improve the community. So they had more of like a connection with that, and they wanted to go back to high school and teach. the kids that were growing up then.
Oh yeah. And who were your teachers? Your teachers were native
Mm,
Spanish speakers or?
yeah, majority were, and now I have so many Spanish teachers. Trying to think back on specific ones. I know one was from Spain, and he was kind of the odd one out. Only one from Spain. The rest of them were mostly Mexican, and they all were native speakers, except for one in high school who I do not think was a native speaker. But I think everyone else was native speaker and majority Mexican. Majority.
Oh yeah. So you were like living a very immersive Spanish speaking experience in the university. And
Yeah, it was
with
very immersive in the classroom, and then outside
yeah.
the classroom was like other stuff.
Oh yeah. And how was the methodology there in the career? It was based on more like the practical thing or the theory. What was the focus?
Oh, there was a lot of it depended on the class because the Spanish major has a wide variety of classes, at least in my university. So you started with the grammar, the basic grammar. So it's mostly grammar focused and grammar exercises, stuff like that. And then after that was mostly literature. So it was a lot of reading, articles and essays and books. And then you would do like projects and presentations and answer a lot of questions
I know
about
that.
the books. Yeah.
I know that because I studied literature as a major.
Yeah, lots of some of
I
those
know.
questions were like, ah, this is too much, too many essay questions.
Yeah. And how did you feel your progression with Spanish during the career?
I thought it's kind of interesting because it's weird to be here in the present moment and look back because the Kristen from right now is much different than the Kristen from before study abroad because
Wow.
when at the time in class I felt very like immersed and very like, oh, Spanish, I can do Spanish in class, and then outside of class never spoke Spanish with anyone, never ever.
Oh.
Yeah. But in the classroom, I was like, "Oh, I'm good at Spanish. This is cool." And then after study abroad, I was like, "Wow, I was nothing. I was not good at
Yeah.
Spanish at all."
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So yeah, okay. Uh, then you had your degree, yes, in
Mhm.
Spanish. Okay.
Mhm.
It was before you end the career that you went to Costa Rica, or
Yes. Yeah.
how's that? Why did you choose Costa Rica, and what was the program?
I mean, don't remember how it came across to me to study abroad because I know they always say like, oh, you should study in a foreign country, Spanish speaking country, and then when you come back, you will be completely fluent.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sounds great. I'll do that. I want to be completely fluent. It didn't happen. But anyway, so I went to the study abroad office and they have a application process. So I had to do all the steps to the application process and they have to approve you. And then they have to approve, it's a whole thing. Then they approve the
Yeah,
classes
I
that
can
you want
imagine.
to take and then they have to transfer the credit and all that. But yeah, they had a list of different countries you could go to. So I could have gone to anywhere on the list, but I narrowed it down to the Spanish speaking countries because I
Yes.
wanted to go to a Spanish speaking country. And they had a list of like five countries, I think. And I eliminated them one by one for different reasons. They either had like a different class focus. Like I think Columbia was a business school, and I was like, I don't want to do business, so I won't go there. And then one was Spain, and I was like, I don't really want to go to Spain because it's far away and it's expensive. And I
Okay,
have
okay.
that vosotros, I don't want to deal with that. So I
Yeah.
cross that off the list. And then I know Mexico was there, but Mexican Spanish was scary because it sounded scary. It has like a lot of vocab that I didn't know. So I was like, I don't want to put myself in an environment that I know will start out being difficult. And then Costa Rica was
Okay.
there. I was like, I don't know anything about Costa Rica. And they say it has the clearest Spanish. So I was like,
Oh,
great, I'll
oh yes.
understand. I don't know. That's what when I was Googling it before going study abroad, that's what they said. So I was like, okay, that sounds good to me.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
That's why I
So it was
chose that one.
yeah, the process of choosing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you arrived at Costa Rica. Where did you live exactly in Costa Rica? And what did you do there? What was the program?
I was in San Jose, the capital, and the program was international student program. There wasn't like a specific program. It was you chose individual classes that you wanted to take. And so I took all the Spanish classes that they offered pretty much because I had 2 semesters. And so I just filled it up with all the Spanish classes. And I think it was divided into mostly Spanish classes or environmental study type stuff, which I'm not interested in as a career. So I did all the Spanish classes, like literature, movies. I think it was mostly literature and a grammar one. I took a grammar one. Yeah.
Okay.
For the
Okay.
2 quarters, I guess, the 2 quarters that I was there.
Okay. And who do you live with there? Who did you live with
I
in
lived with
Costa Rica?
the host family, so a husband and wife, and they had a few other international students there as well, and they were all from the U.S. They were almost all from the U.S., but in my house, everyone was from the U.S. and they changed. So I think I had a total of like 6 housemates. I think I had 3 at a time. I had 3 the
Six.
first quarter and then 3 the second quarter.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. How was your interaction with the family? Did you practice your Spanish there with them?
Yes, luckily I got the host family that didn't speak any English. So I was like,
Oh,
yes,
great.
this is perfect. No escape. Because that was the whole reason I wanted to study abroad was to like
Yes.
be in the Spanish environment and speak Spanish. Because
Yeah.
outside I could order Mexican restaurant food in Spanish or I could order it in English. And I always just ordered it in English. So in Costa Rica I was like, I can't escape. I have to practice. And that's what happened. So my host parents only spoke Spanish. And my housemates, their Spanish was not so advanced. So that was
Okay.
also kind of fun to mediate between like my
Yes.
housemates and the host parents because they didn't always
Oh,
understand each
you were
other.
like an interpreter there.
Yeah, yeah, that was my first interpreting experience.
Oh, yeah.
That was really easy
Okay.
stuff. It was like close the shower curtain or stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. Okay. And in the program, uh, you practice your Spanish during the classes.
Yes. Yeah.
But what about the outside experiences, the extracurricular experiences?
Outside was all English, which at the
English.
beginning, yes, was very frustrating because I wanted the whole Spanish experience, right? So
Yes.
I was in class, everyone spoke Spanish with each other. Outside of class, they were like, oh, that class was great. I'm like, okay, speak Spanish with me, please. You can't just go back to English every time. That was, yeah. And some people had a program that they went with. So I went with just my university. My university sent me there and it was all done through my university. And some people had a program that was like a foreign exchange program. So they had extracurricular trips and then they had trips and all English because they're all from the US. So
Yeah.
anytime we're outside, it's English. We had lunch together, English.
Oh, yeah.
Always
And
English.
yeah, you couldn't force your classmates
I
to go
tried.
back to yeah.
I did. I had some friends that we kind of practiced Spanish, and then it's not the same because most of the people who were there, the other international students, their Spanish was pretty basic, which I was
Oh,
surprised. I was like, I would never go to a Spanish-speaking country if I didn't have like a good level of Spanish. But
eh,
most of the
eh,
people were like basic intermediate, so it was
eh,
hard to hold a conversation with them sometimes.
Oh yeah. So, why do you think that these international students came from different universities and from different careers? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there were, I think there were other Spanish majors, but they had like the environmental students. They wanted to speak Spanish. Maybe Spanish was their minor, but they weren't so Spanish
Okay,
based.
so you were the Spanish girl there in that
Yeah.
international student
All
community.
alone.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe many people there depended on you
Sometimes.
for the interactions with locals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was that the interaction with locals that you had there in Costa Rica?
It was
Could you have this
interesting.
experience? Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting, like for the school, the way the school was laid out. The international students were on a complete different floor of the building. So it was like first and second floor was the Costa Rican students taking their normal classes. And then the third floor, all internationals. I was like, why? Because
Ah,
when I applied to the program, I thought it would be like a mix, like
mixed.
Costa
Yes.
Ricans and internationals in one class. All the teachers were Costa Ricans, but other than that, they were all far away. Like, and it was separated, and it kind of felt separated as well. And you could talk to them, like the nationals, the Costa
Yes.
Rican students, but it was kind of weird because it wasn't set up for us to interact
Yes.
naturally. So sometimes I would go out of my way and try and, practice, but they were all like kind of shy. They were all kind of shy, and then they all wanted to speak English with me. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, please, Spanish.
Yeah. You both had different purposes.
Yes, yeah. Apparently, I asked about it. I was like, why is everyone speaking English with me? Apparently, they want the internationals to feel comfortable, so they open
Yeah.
with English so they feel more at home. I'm like, no, no, no. Do that with other
Yeah.
people. Speak Spanish with me, please.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. Did you live some like intercultural remarkable experience there in Costa Rica?
Oh, intercultural experiences.
Something that stands out?
Um, the only, if I think of like intercultural experiences, it would be maybe the trips. Because every weekend, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we didn't have class. So everyone would leave and like take the bus and go to the beach or go to the forest or do tourism stuff. And so we would take like public transit and then be more like intermixed with the population, the ticos
Okay.
there. So, but we were never, all the trips, we would stay in hostels, but all the hostels had English speaking people.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah, I guess that.
it's like you go to another country to be immersed in the culture, and
Yes.
then just English everywhere.
Yeah. Sometimes it happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely go out of my way to try and get the
Yeah.
little cultural
Yeah.
experiences. Like with my host
Yeah.
family. That was a really good one. That was good.
Yeah. Did you make like friends, personal connections with people there in Costa Rica?
I did. I have a few, and I met them in dance class. That was one kind of,
Dance.
yeah, that was one class. It was like a club. It was after school, and it was like internationals and nationals can mix. And it was like 95% United States and then 5% ticos. So as hard as you try.
Yeah. You were
But
yeah.
I had some friends from that class who I'm still in contact with.
Yeah. You were chasing the Ticos people.
They kept
But then
escaping from me.
yeah. You were escaping from the
Yeah,
Americans and you were
I,
chasing the Ticos.
I wanted the cultural experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, you had to leave Costa Rica. It was for 1 year that you stayed there.
Yeah, it was one academic year, so it was probably like about 9 months, 8 months. It was from August to May. August to
Yeah.
May. Yeah.
And when you left Costa Rica, how did you feel about your level in Spanish? Your Spanish.
Oh, when I came back, it was interesting because when I got to Costa Rica, the culture shock that everyone talks about, you go to a new country, you're like, wow, culture shock. It wasn't so strong. It wasn't that weird. I just kind of like blended in. I was like, this is great. But when I came back, that's when I had a big culture shock. It was really weird. Everyone was speaking English and everything, like the infrastructure is different, the buildings are different, the people are different, which was
Mm.
weird because I should be like, oh, home sweet home.
Yes, yes.
But it was weird. And I remember when I came off the plane and I was getting my baggage and someone at the baggage claim helped me get my luggage, someone working there, and I was like, oh, gracias, and I was like, oh god, wait, no. I gotta switch my language. And he was like, oh, hablas español, and I was like, oh my god, no, wait, I gotta switch.
You
I
got
was
used to the Spanish.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I didn't.
Yeah.
It was just automatic. I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, I
silly.
feel that you were very enthusiastic about and very passionate about your Spanish. And also I think you are the type of person who makes connections very quickly. I feel that.
Yeah, I try. I really try to to talk to people,
Yeah.
mostly for practice. But
Yeah. So, we are now back in San Francisco. And what did you do
hmm
there?
that when I came back, I still had school left to do. So I went back to my university. Well, I guess I had the summer, but after the summer, I still had more classes to do. And it was kind of a funny situation because I had like one or two more Spanish classes to take to graduate, which is not a full schedule. And I didn't want to graduate yet because I didn't feel like ready for the real world. And so I don't know how it came up, but I decided to do another major in linguistics. So I
Linguistic.
was in linguistics, and that was also interesting because I wasn't taking any Spanish classes because I had already finished my major, and so I was doing
Yes.
another one. So I didn't have Spanish in class, and I didn't have Spanish outside of class because I never
Mm.
had a network for Spanish anyway. Because when I was
Mm.
here before study abroad, I never spoke Spanish outside of class. So I didn't have it in class, I didn't have it outside of class, and I was just totally not not
Oh,
Spanish. Yeah.
no
I don't
Spanish.
and it was I think I was out of practice at that time and I was trying to find ways to practice,
Yes.
but it was so hard to go from Costa Rica where everything is in Spanish. You could just
Yes.
go to a coffee shop and speak Spanish. You can talk to a random stranger on the street, Spanish. And here it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. It was just weird.
So, yeah. So what was your decision there? Yeah, to tackle this problem.
I think I took a break for a little while. I didn't search out any Spanishy things. I did when I came back. I had started listening to Spanish music because beforehand I never listened to Spanish music,
Mm.
not in class or out of class. And then after study abroad, I had like found so many good Spanish songs and like
Yeah.
Spanish artists. So that I came back, I was listening to that. And I did join a salsa dance club.
Salsa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was in that environment that was obviously Spanish music and the people in the club spoke Spanish sometimes, but I never really spoke Spanish with them because I was still kind of shy.
Shy.
Yeah, because again, it's the option like, oh, they speak English. I should just speak English with them. And if I speak Spanish, it's a choice. And then it's like, oh, what if it's not good? And then like, there's the whole thing. But that was probably, yeah, I was in like a Spanish desert. There was there's not
Desert.
that much Spanish
Yeah.
around.
But I know that you made a decision, which was to go more professionally for Spanish. Yes?
Yes, yes,
Yes. So
yeah.
you started a program for what?
That after I graduated, on one of the last days, I did not even know this existed. One of the last days when I was gonna graduate, I was talking to my professor like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm about to graduate and I don't know what job to do or where to go." And he was like, "Oh, why don't you look into interpretation?" And I was like, "What's that? No one has ever told me anything about this." I was so frustrated. Anyway, but he said, "Oh, you should look into this university. They have masters and they had a certificate program in interpreting, and maybe you could do that." And I was like, "Oh, I'll look into that." And I looked into it, and my original plan was to teach English in a Spanish speaking country, but then the pandemic happened. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just stay here. And that program was actually perfect timing because it's an online program. It's always been
Oh, okay.
online. So I was like, oh, let's just do that online. And so I did that program and I started it in August of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that program, the goal is to work where?
The program I did was medical interpreting. So the goal would be to work in a hospital or a clinic or hospital-y setting, doctor setting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you're going to be an interpreter, as a
Hmm.
medium between the patient and the doctors.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now now you're in a position with your level of Spanish to do that. You feel?
Yes. Yes. I feel like it's a never-ending practice. I feel like you always have to be practicing. So I think I'm at the level to start, but there's still like a long way to go.
Yeah. Have you had a real experience there in a hospital, in a clinic, doing that, interpreting?
No, I never did because I started the program and I was just learning about it because I had
Mm.
absolutely no knowledge because I didn't know this career existed. So, so I was in the
Yeah.
program doing that, and they did have an opportunity to shadow an interpreter in a hospital setting, but we
Mm.
couldn't because it was the pandemic and COVID
Oh
was in the
yeah.
hospital, so they
Oh,
canceled that.
okay.
So I've never been in a hospital setting or in any setting watching an interpreter. It's all been like uh, like role play type of stuff in class.
Role play. Online, yes?
Online. There was one
Online.
at the end of the program. They had 1 week workshop at the on campus. So everyone came to campus and they did a lot of role play. It was exhausting. But they did a lot of like role play. They had interpreters come in and they had interpreters doing the role play, so they know really well how doctors are not always so understanding of the interpreter's role.
Yeah.
And so they're creating all these real life problems, and all of us students were like, I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really
Okay.
fun.
So your plan now is to pursue a career there in that field, yes? With the Spanish, in the medical industry for
Yes,
the
that
next
is
years.
one of the plans they have in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not thinking like uh have you thought about going abroad again and try to do something with your Spanish?
I have thought the two paths that I'm considering as a career would be interpreting, medical interpreting, and that would be here in the US because there's a ton of jobs. You open LinkedIn,
Hmm.
it's like medical interpreters needed. So that would be one outlet or one opportunity to do. And the other one would be translation. And I think that would be
Translation.
cool because I could move to a Spanish speaking country. And if they need English translations, which I'm sure they do, that could be me doing that stuff. So that would be, and that could be not literary translation because I am not so into that, but
Yeah.
more like literal, like health posters. I don't know, something, a manual, something more
Yeah.
literal. I would be
Yeah.
into doing that.
Yeah. And up to this point, how do you value your Spanish learning journey and experience in general? How do you feel about the
Mm.
Spanish?
I think the most important part of my Spanish journey was definitely the study abroad. Not so much because it was a native speaking environment, which was also good, but it was more the fact that I was forced to speak Spanish. And so I was just like speaking Spanish everywhere because I was like, I have to do this, which a lot of people spoke English, but I was in the mindset like, oh, I have to speak Spanish everywhere. And that was really good because I tried my best to carry that with me when I came back because it was really difficult there because a lot of people speak English. So I had to try and like, if they answer in English, I answer in Spanish. They're still
Yeah.
speaking English. That's okay. I don't speak English. I only speak Spanish. And that's really a great way to practice. And so I kind of carried that with me today because it happens to me a lot. They switch to English. That's fine. I'll just keep going in Spanish because you used to get really uncomfortable. Like, oh no,
Yes.
should I switch back to English? Because they want to speak English. Now
Yes.
I'm like, whatever, it's fine. Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest takeaway of my whole Spanish education.
Yeah. Do you feel that you are another type of person when you speak Spanish?
That was an interesting question. I wouldn't say I'm a different person. I would say that this is interesting. I would say that I don't care about so much what I say. I feel like in English, I kind of think about what I say more because it's more impactful because I'm very, very familiar about what the words mean and everything. But Spanish, I'm more like I just say whatever I think. It's I just kind of go with it.
Oh, that's interesting. You would
Yeah.
say that maybe you take more risks when you speak Spanish.
I would say I take more risks. It also depends too on the situation because sometimes I do get very nervous about making mistakes in Spanish,
Hmm.
which like, oh, I think about conjugating too much. I'm like, oh, I get too much in
Yeah.
my head. So like, I don't, now I'm like, there's like two Spanish Kristens. The really nervous
Yeah.
one like focuses a lot, and the other one I think is more common. That's just like la la la, la say everything because everyone knows this is my second language and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So sometimes I feel the same when I speak English,
Hmm.
and I say, well, I can take risks because this is my second language, so
Yeah,
I'm
right.
more allowed to
Exactly.
make mistakes and not to play safe like
Yeah.
in my language.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So sometimes people, when they are afraid of speaking a second language, can
Mhm.
take this approach. Maybe in some way it can be helpful.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So, mm, what would you say were the most helpful action strategies that you used for your Spanish in this the whole time?
Mm. Ah, that's a good question. I used to I'll do like every month I'll make new goals just for like general life things. And I always have like my Spanish goal like, oh, what should I do this month? Should I read, or, like focus on this or focus on that? So that's been helpful to kind of like keep going back and keep kind of changing it up on what I should focus on. And another helpful thing was I'm always like Googling like how to better my Spanish. And and
Me too.
what right? And
Me
I
too
always
with
get
English.
different stuff. There was one thing that came up that I thought was really cool. And it's really obvious, but it's like everything you do in English, you could do in Spanish. And I'm like, can
Yes.
you? And I'm like, well, obviously, because what do Spanish speaking people do? But the but the example was like, oh, instead of writing your grocery list in English, you could write it in Spanish. And so like little things like that. But then I just started doing it with everything. I was like, okay, groceries in Spanish. And then I write in my journal, I'm like, Spanish, I can do it in Spanish. And then instead of reading a book in English, I read a book in Spanish.
Yes. Yes. I think. Yeah. I think that's very conscious. It's a conscious approach because when you are very committed to learning a language, yeah, you can just experience the language and to
Hmm.
live the language is doing that really. Um, yeah. Now it's time to party in
Uh-oh.
Spanish.
Because you could do everything in Spanish if you can do it in English.
Yeah. Uh, now we go to Spanish for a little bit. Uh, bueno, ahora estamos en español.
Excelente, perfecto.
Y escucharemos tu español. Bueno, ¿podrías contarnos eso un poco lo que terminaste de decir, Cristen? ¿Qué sientes sobre el español y qué quieres hacer con tu español a partir de ahora?
A partir de ahora es como tengo una meta un poco diferente porque ahora estoy en el proceso de aplicar para el certificado de interpretación médica. Y de hecho ayer yo tomé el primer examen de
Oh,
interpretación médica y lo aprobé.
qué bueno.
Sí, jajaja.
Felicitaciones.
Gracias. Sí. Y estoy en ese camino de es un camino un poco diferente porque hay dos exámenes, entonces el segundo examen es de interpretación como práctica, en vivo, no sé, es como tengo
Sí, sí,
que
sí.
tomar el examen y interpretar y hacer una interpretación y grabar lo que digo y
Sí.
tengo que practicar eso y tengo que practicar más terminología médica, lo que no voy a usar en mi vida ahora porque no voy al
Sí.
doctor hablando español. Entonces, tengo que realmente enfocarme en eso. Eso es un poco diferente que lo que hago normalmente, porque ahora estoy hablando cuando bailo salsa, hablando con la gente
Ah,
cuando bailo o leyendo un libro, pero no tengo conversaciones médicas cuando bailo, porque
claro.
eso no pasa.
Sí.
Sí,
Sí.
entonces tengo que cambiar mi enfoque un poco a partir de ahora, a partir de ayer.
De ayer. ¿Y
Mm.
te han dicho algo sobre tu acento español?
He recibido un montón de opiniones,
¿Cuáles
todos
son?
son muy diferentes, que es una mezcla y escucho mucho como que sueno como una mexicana y yo, oh, qué interesante, nunca he pensado que sueno como una mexicana, qué raro. Porque para mí los mexicanos tienen un acento muy marcado y yo, no,
Sí,
no soy así, no hablo así.
sí. Yo te dije alguna vez que tienes una mezcla de... Un poquito de... Empiezas como mexicana y terminas en
Ajá,
otro acento.
sí. Sí, esa cosa de la doble R, eso es muy
Ah,
interesante, porque
sí,
ahora es que es como que el acento, la R en español mexicano es muy, muy fuerte, como carro, súper,
sí.
no sé, súper fuerte, pero
Igual
en
acá.
Costa Rica es muy, muy suave. Y
Sí.
yo ahora tengo algo en mi mente que dice como, ¿cuál R quiero usar? Y no
Ah,
sé,
es muy
a
bueno.
cambio a veces, y yo no sé si debo escoger uno.
Ah, sí. Sí, es una muy buena consideración. Yo creo que deberías elegir una, porque
Sí,
en el camino de dudar, quizá
ajá,
probablemente eso te fuerce a hacer o sea, te va a llevar
sí.
a cometer más errores, ¿no?
Ujú,
Sí,
ujú.
sí. Pero depende también cuáles sean tus objetivos de vida, ¿no? Quizá quieras regresar a Costa Rica o algo así.
Sí, sí, sí. De hecho, cuando regreso a Costa Rica para visitar a mi novio, mi acento cambia. Se
Oh, that's
vuelve más
interesting.
costarricense. Ajá, y cuando regreso es más, lo noto como Carol. Y yo no digo
Uh,
así.
okay, we can go back to English to close the interview. But you just mentioned that you have a boyfriend. And
Ajá.
is he from Costa Rica?
He is, yes, I met him in the dance class. He was one of the 5% of actual
Oh yeah.
Costa Ricans who went to the dance
Oh,
class.
that's another whole story, because
Ajá.
yeah, because I think being in a relationship in a second language is
Ujú,
it's like a challenge too, because you have to know how to express your feelings and deep thoughts in another language. So
ujú.
do you have that option with your boyfriend?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when we have like serious type conversations, I always think like Spanish or English. And I always try and like do it in Spanish, and then sometimes I can go through the whole conversation in Spanish. I'm like, yeah, I could do this. Like very proud of myself. I'm like, yes, I could express everything I wanted to say. This is great. But sometimes we'll do English because he's very fluent in English. So
Okay.
it just depends. I try my best to do Spanish, but
Yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't work
So
out.
you're a bilingual couple because you use English and Spanish at
Yeah.
almost 50-50.
Yeah, we'll switch. We'll switch. And my parents only speak English, and his mom, it's just his mom, only speaks Spanish. So when we like go to each other's places, the language has to match what the other,
Yeah.
what the parents speak. So, and that's another interesting thing because when he's here, it is cool because if I ever want to say something that I don't want my parents to hear, it's just Spanish because my parents don't understand.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's nice. I feel a little bit
Yeah.
sneaky, but I'm like, it's nothing ever anything,
Yeah.
that important. So,
Yeah, that's great. Well, Kristen, we are here at the end of our interview. It's been
wow.
fantastic. And thank you because I feel that this interview is full of laughing and I and I think you're the laughing girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So always. Yeah, I see you like that. Well, thank you for being here and thank you for the time, the conversation.
Yes,
It's
thank
been awesome.
you. Yeah. I
So
always love talking about Spanish.
yeah, yeah. Keep working on your Spanish, on your danza classes,
Yes.
and we'll talk soon.
Yes.
Bye.
All right.